Welcome everybody to week 4 of building Bracca in Lego. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode, and let's get straight into it. As you can see, this is kind of the finished draft that I've got for this kind of cone section of the Venator engine. Now, I will go through kind of my steps on how I got to this final stage. It was quite complicated, but I'll take you back about a week's time to my first trial. This was the start of how I tried to make the cone. I started with mixel joints at the end and added wedge plates and then kind of folded them into each other so that I made the inside of a cone shape. Although I did find on my first set of trials that the wedge plate that I used were too narrow. They didn't give enough angle, and so it meant that they weren't reaching the outer parts of the Venator engine. So I decided to go for a bigger wedge, and you can see how I was able to. I started with one panel and then I made all 8 panels, I believe, in total, and then I eventually was able to add them to the engine. This is the final design that I've kind of gone with for the mock. Obviously I'm going to have to plate up all of these panels, which will take a bit of work, but I have been able to get the framework done, which is what I'm happy with. It's been extremely challenging, like I showed in the last couple clips, and if you've been watching on my shorts, I kind of post every 2 or 3 days, so if you want to see progress sooner, have a watch of those. But yeah, I'll kind of go through the final technique of how I added it to the other part of the engine. Now it is quite dark under here, so I'll do my best to kind of explain. Now, it is connected, it's being held up by this single beam. Now, you may think that's a bit dodgy, but it's actually quite stable because a lot of the force is being held up by these mixer joints right here. And there's one on the underside, if I can hold the camera straight, sorry. One on the underside of every panel. And then this kind of beam just holds up the weight of it all because it's not really heavy. That's what the challenge was, trying to make it as light as possible. Now it's potentially going to double in weight because I'm going to have to add all these grey plates, but you can see how the finished look is going to kind of be, as you can see, the section right here, which is how I had to switch over from going from left-sided wedges to right-sided wedges. Does that kind of make sense? Because I don't have enough of one type of wedge to go the entire curve around, so I had to switch it, and I just use this kind of rectangular panel to switch them over. Some other things that were quite difficult were lining it up with the edge of this rail. Now, as you can see, if I turn the camera all the way around, it lines up pretty well, so I'm happy with that. Besides that, the challenges were creating enough of an angle so that it was small enough at the circle here, but large enough at the big circle. That meant I had to switch the types of wedge plates. I was initially going to go with the 3x12, but I had to go with the 3x6s instead. What I'm probably going to try and finish doing this week is adding the circle here and maybe starting on panels. Now I haven't fully come up with what I want to do with this space right here. I'm thinking go greebling detail like a few plates down and then maybe a black design behind that, or do I just go with a full black kind of panel to cover it up? Any suggestions about that be welcome, because I'm really not sure what to do there. And I've also kind of changed it up. I'm thinking about just doing a black design for the bottom part here. That, by the way, is just the other part of the circle, because I just took that off because I kept hitting it off and it was annoying me. Besides that, the only real changes I've made to the mock were obviously pushing it over. So you now can see that when it's over here, it hangs off the table a bit. You can kind of see that with the little piece to the left here. But other than that, the only small change that I made was to one of the minifigures. Now, a lot of people were telling me that my Echo minifigure shouldn't have used the normal clone head, so I switched to the old clone head, as you can see there. So I think that looks really good. Some people saying use the Lobot head, but I don't have one of those. That was a good idea, so thank you to that person. But I think I'm happy with the old clone head. One change that I kind of want to make to this series is switching it to an episode every 2 weeks. I think it will allow me to have more progress, and also it will help the project in its longevity, because I found that when doing big projects, they can take months at a time, and you kind of lose your motivation to do them. So splitting them up, making them take a little bit longer, but having smaller projects in between allows you to keep going and finish the entire project. So since this is only about half to 60% of the entire size of the mock that I want to do, it's probably only about 40% finished because I've not even done this section yet. I think going with some smaller projects like I have done this week just keeps my motivation high, and really is what's going to allow me to fully complete this mock. Now, if you're wondering what else I did this week, I built this mini Ryloth mock as part of my Clone Wars series, where I'm making one small mock from every season. I've got season 2, 5, and 6 left. The other thing I did was made my first set of instructions. I recently bought 2 of the new Clone/Mando battle packs, and I made these instructions, put them on Rubricable. I'll put a free link down below. It's already on like 350 downloads in less than a week, so I'm really happy about that, and thanks to everyone who downloaded it. Besides that, I'll try and get some more done this week, but if not, I'll see you soon.